Welcome back, ladies and gents. Today we're going to talk about King of Thorns, a sci-fi surviving drama. As for what exactly this movie's about, well, let's dive into it. In the crowded streets of New York City, people are minding their business until a busty lady comes falling from the sky, just like any other typical day. However, what was untypical about this death is that instead of cleaning blood and brain pieces off the ground, the health organization had to isolate the area as they're dealing with a disease called the Medusa virus. Doctors around the world couldn't find a cause or a cure to the Medusa strain. A newscaster narrates that in its first stage, the disease is in an incubation period for 30 to 60 days from infection, and in the second stage, the body starts turning to stone, petrification, within 12 hours. So far, the fatality rate is 100%, throwing the world into chaos. Under the economic collapse and rising political tension, a Russian businessman named Ivan Vega announces that his group Venusgate are searching for possible cures, and he continues to say that the ice will conquer the stone, implying they'll find a cure for the disease in the coolest way possible. On the other half of the world, US officials meet to discuss the possibilities of the Medusa virus being a bioweapon developed by Venusgate, and that Vega's out of his mind. After further discussions and knowing that the US president has passed away from Medusa, the officials agree to spy and possibly sabotage Venus Labs, naming the mission the most ridiculous name, Sleeping Beauty. 3 buses transport people to the Venusgate Labs / castle. These people have volunteered to be put in a hibernation state after scientists concluded if they freeze the body before the virus kicks in, they'll stop the petrifying process. Inside the castle, a receptionist takes the information of the main character Gasumi and hands her a bracelet. Then she's told that she has to leave her twin sister Shizuku, who's a cheerful, confident ray of sunshine, so she can attend the briefing that Chairman Vega's doing for the guests. At the end of the briefing, Abita asks a very reasonable question to the Sigma Russian man. What if the guys running the place die while the volunteers are frozen? The Sigma responds with a smug face. The castle's controlled and managed by an AI system called Alice. This system also helps in monitoring the physical and emotional state of the resident through the bracelets on their wrists. We then see Gasumi sitting alone looking at her bracelet. Underneath it, we can see a scar on her wrist, implying signs of self-harm and depression. Gasumi contemplates going through the hibernation, knowing she'll be alone for 100 years without her loving, supportive sister. Now outside, the girls have themselves a quarrel as Gasumi doesn't want to go through the sleep alone, so her sister, despite visibly looking sad of the separation, tells her that she believes that they'll eventually meet again. The next day arrives and the volunteers are handing their personal belongings before going through some tests to be put in chambers that look like they're straight out of the Matrix. Inside it, the AI calms Gasumi before starting the freezing process. After, we see some soldiers firing guns, and we get a flashback of the wholesome moment between the girls. Gasumi awakens alongside the other people. They're shocked to see that the facility they're in is covered by vines filled with thorns. While looking around, some sort of mutated bat lands on Gasumi's chamber, sending her flying to the ground. Luckily, she gets caught by 2 guys who ask her what's wrong. When she points up, a swarm of Jurassic bats fly down. And if I'm being honest, what bothered me the most wasn't the blood and gore, but the balls hanging on their birds. Anyway, after managing to forcefully open the elevator door, people fall to their death because they're going in without realizing there's no elevator. Out of that death pit, a hellish monster rises and tries to catch an old geezer, but the geezer gets saved by Gasumi and a blonde guy who gets caught by the monster's tentacle and crushed to death. After shit just settles down, a group of survivors made up of a boy, a blonde hottie, a 4-eyed middle-aged man, an old geezer, a cop, a criminal, and Gasumi sit around and try to figure things out. The group's big alpha males have themselves a quarrel, but the hot blondie solves it low-key, making her the mom of the group. Soon after, they decide to go to the upper levels. The group wraps their bare feet with pieces of t-shirt so the thorns won't be a huge issue. As they make their way up the tower, Gasumi tries to figure out why Marco, the jacked-up criminal, looks so familiar. The group soon comes to a dead end flooded in water, where they'll get cornered by a monster that detaches the old geezer's head. When the group wants to run from it, they get shouted at by Tim, the little boy, who tells them that the monster's called a Demonsaurus, and it tracks prey using sound because it's got poor vision. Marco asks Tim if he's sure, and then throws him, along with Catherine, the blonde hot babe, into the water. After that, the group members jump in themselves. On the other side, Catherine notices Gasumi is nowhere to be found. Marco looks for her and finds her unconscious under the water. He saves her with the help of Peter, the 4-eyed middle-aged man. After bringing back Gasumi, the group finds they're surrounded by a dozen Demonsaurus. The fellas run for the hills as Marco tries to slow down the monsters. When they reach a semi-open gate, the fellas find some guns and blast the ugly bastards. After surviving this wave, the fellas regroup in a security room where they treat the minor injuries and reload their weapons while trying to figure out their situation from the computers in the room. Now here's something that weirded me out. Catherine suddenly had a mental breakdown and threatens to slap Tim. Then she wakes up from her state, hugs a little boy and apologizes to him. Ron, the cop, makes a witty remark about Catherine hiding something from her past. Marco says, "Nah, buddy, she ain't it. Peter's the imposter," so they drill him with questions until he snaps and takes Gasumi as a hostage and runs to the elevator. In the elevator, Peter makes an interesting remark saying, "What the hell are you?" Then the cam cuts to the boys packing some heat, preparing for the rescue mission. However, unbeknownst to them, a horde of Demonsaurus is surrounding them, which puts the rescue mission on hold. They now need to sneak their way further up the tower via a broken bridge covered with thorns. All goes smooth until Kathy's hand gets stung by a thorn, alerting the Demonsaurus to their location. Marco acts quickly and shoots a fuel container, exploding the area beneath them. Now, like the total thriller drama this movie is, it cuts to some depressing flashbacks of Gasumi's past. After a spin in the twisted dreamland, Gasumi wakes up inside a lab with samples of monster. She then hears Peter talking to someone who turns out to be Marco. Apparently, they were working together. When Marco leaves the room, Peter goes to talk to Gasumi as he knows she was listening. He hands her a chip that contains valuable info about Medusa before being killed by a Demonsaurus. When the Demonsaurus turns to Gasumi, Marco enters the room and shoots the thing, then they run for their lives. However, the monster is relentless and keeps chasing till they reach a hole in the ceiling. With the monster behind them, they can't climb up. As Marco battles it out with the monster mano a mano, Gasumi suddenly drops the chip, which catches fire from the Molotov cocktails Ron and Kathy threw at the monster. Soon after that, the group, who are now back together, makes their way to a storage room. Marco confronts the group about his identity. It turns out that the thug is a second lieutenant sent by the US to blow the facility up if the suspicions were true. Suspicions that Venus Gate made Medusa as a bioweapon. However, the confession session was cut short when the floor started shaking and something started smashing the door. That something was none other than the Russian Sigma male Dr. Ivan Vega, the CEO of Venus Gate. Dr. Vega comes forward with what happened. He says a test subject went out of control and had gone beyond his reach. We learn from Dr. Vega that this whole hibernation thing was just a study to learn how to control dreams and forge them into a reality. Now on their way up through a hidden passage, Dr. Vega leads the group. We learn how the story began as Vega narrates that 8 years ago, meteorites lit up the sky above a Siberian village. All the residents died from an unknown disease except one girl. The ministry suspected a contagion, but the issue was a creature which cut through his troops like butter. They fought it and brought it down in a hail of bullets. Torn to shreds, this thing was the strangest creature he'd ever laid eyes on. The laws of biology that govern all known life simply didn't apply to it. The creature had sprung fully formed from the girl's imagination. Turns out the girl, the little demon monkey, and Medusa are all connected. Vega continues by bringing the creature to life, the girl survived the effects of Medusa. As Vega continues talking about the events that led to this point, he walks them to a room where Alice is. Alice apparently passed away, but her consciousness still lives as an AI. Vega tries to end his life by taking a gun that was hidden under the glass coffin, but Gasumi and Marco stop him and demand that Vega take them to the test subject that went out of control, as she suspects by now that it's actually her sister. However, the thorn vines come bursting out of the ground and Tim runs away and the fellas follow him. Their path was cut by the demon who refuses to die, so Marco, as usual, stayed behind to fight them. Right when it seemed that Marco's time was up, a sword went right through the demon's throat, saving Marco, but in the process, Peter gets petrified, sacrificing his life in the chaddest way possible. The fellas running after Tim reach yet another dead end in an old abandoned well. When Marco rejoins the group, we know that Alice hijacked the boy's body and guided them to this point, claiming she's protecting the suitable host as that's her mission. She then dipped out and Tim regained control. Backed against a wall, the group decides to jump into the rising water as it's their only way to survive. After some hiccups, the group's now on the outside of the castle. They look around and see the castle is covered by thorns. Gasumi walks up to the hill where she last stood with her twin sister and sees a cam on the ground. She turns it on and watches a recording of her sister having some sort of seizure before the recording cuts out. She comes to the realization that this thorn stuff is the work of her sister's dreams. She runs back to the castle and Marco tries to stop her by calling her name and asking her to come back with them, saying that her sister isn't the girl that she remembers anymore. Kasumi refuses and proceeds to enter the castle while Marco, Tim and Catherine go to a helicopter, flying it to the castle that's turned into a dragon. What's more wacky is Catherine's pulling a gun on Marco. She tells him to fly away as she wants to live peacefully ever after with Tim as her new son, after her own son was lost going into the facility. Marco tells her there's no outrunning this shit as it will engulf the whole world with its thorns. Meanwhile, Kasumi is still searching for Shizuku by using a computer to locate her position. Back on the outside, Marco is giving a wonderful review about the Sleeping Beauty story, and as he continues, Catherine starts coughing and shoots the gun multiple times by mistake. This makes the helicopter swing out of control, hitting a vine that sends Marco flying outside. However, our man manages to hold onto a metallic piece from the castle roof before re-entering the castle from a window. Luckily for him, he lands in the same room Kasumi's in. She asks if Tim and Kathy are okay, and he replies he doesn't think so after seeing them crash by the side of the castle. Now inside again, Marco decides to help Kasumi find her sister. They run towards the location. We see everything turn to stone alongside Catherine, who died holding little Tim. When Marco and Kasumi reach the lab, Marco starts having illusions. He sees his own sister, who died from Medusa. Not only that, this fake sister starts kicking his ass, but it turns out it's Alice that's controlling Marco's consciousness and kicking his ass. She explains to him all the steps that led to this situation, and that Medusa's a mental virus that mainly infects those with trauma, as their minds focused and at the same time fragile enough for the virus to take control. Whilst he's talking, Marco starts analysing the situation and concludes that she's controlling his consciousness through the chip Team Venus Gate injected into the volunteers' necks. So he shoots himself in the freaking neck, snapping back to reality. Marco shuts down Alice's system, but while doing so, he takes a heavy blow to the stomach. On the other end, Kasumi is also having illusions. A dream within a dream within a dream, and by God, it was actually hard knowing what was real, as well as what was going on in real time. I do advise you to watch the last 30 minutes as it's suspenseful. Anyway, moving on, Kasumi starts talking to a clone of Shizuku made from Thorns. Thorn Shizuku urges Kasumi to leave and go and live her life peacefully. However, Kasumi declines and demands to talk to the true Shizuku. Thus, the clone ties Kasumi with vines, but Kasumi doesn't back down and tries to brutally escape the vines, hurting herself in the process. A sad Shizuku sees it and gets overwhelmed to the point that she starts losing control of the vines outside. When Alice finally shuts down fully, Shizuku loses control of her dream, giving Kasumi an opening to crawl to her sister's unconscious body. The clone re-emerges and holds Kasumi by the leg, asking her not to look at Shizuku's body. However, Kasumi manages to pull through. When she looks at Shizuku's wrists, she starts having flashbacks about all that's happened. Turns out, when her sister went to the hill, Kasumi was so upset of going through the sleep alone, she attempted double suicide. Shizuku, refusing to die, holds onto the ledge, and when she looked down, we see Kasumi dead. Are you following then, lads? I repeat, Kasumi died a while ago. After witnessing such a painful event, Shizuku's imagination of having a Sleeping Beauty scenario where she's with her family, sleeping in a castle surrounded by thorns came to reality. As far as the dead sister part goes, Shizuku dreamt her sister to life, hence this Kasumi we're seeing now is from Shizuku's imagination. She dreamt her sister back to life. All this gets revealed, the castle collapses, so to save Kasumi, Shizuku pushes her out of the collapsing roofway with a golden vine. She then gets caught by Marco and they jump out of a window into the ocean. Apparently, a big sister's work's never done, as Shizuku sprung vines to catch them and slowly put them on the ground. Now that the smoke's settled, Marco asks Kasumi to live a happy life as his dying wish. The man dies sitting up with a smile on his face. Kasumi kisses him on the cheek, then goes and looks for any people in the area alongside little Tim, who's still alive. Oh, that was quite a movie. I loved all the twists and turns, and to fully appreciate them, you've got to watch the end of the movie. Anyway, that's it from us. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if so, you know what to do. We'll see you in the next one.